In the vise, we have a fork from a Suzuki SV650S. Now, the standard SV fork is identical with the exception of the fork cap in that the S has a preload adjuster. On the fork, we're going to do a complete teardown, including a new fork oil seal. So there's some steps here that we have to go through in order to make sure that we can get the bolt loose in the bottom of the fork. So the first thing to do, if you have the S, is add all the preload to the fork cap. Now go ahead and reposition the fork in the vise with the leg pinned in the vise. Now, depending which leg you have in the vise, you may or may not have to remove the pinch bolt and also the axle spacer from the fork leg. In this case, we have to. Now with our Motion Pro T-handle, we need to crack the bolt loose, and adding all the preload to the spring really helps keep the tension inside the fork to help us get this loose. If you can't break it loose, you may have to go get an air ratchet to break it loose, especially if it's been a long time since it came apart. Okay, that came apart quite easy, so I'm just going to snug that back up again. So we got lucky there. Usually they're a lot more difficult. You need to snug it back up because we don't need oil dripping out of the base of the fork while we take the internals out. Now go ahead and reposition the fork in the vise so we can take all the internals out of the fork. Remove all the preload from the fork cap. Now go ahead and remove the fork cap itself. Now we need to remove the components from inside. To help us do that, grab the fork leg and push up to raise the parts into place so you can remove them. First part out is a washer and the preload spacer itself. Next, there's another washer on top of the spring, so we'll remove that. Now we're going to take the fork over to the sink to extract the spring so we don't drip oil all over the floor, and then pour the oil out. Whenever you recycle oil, please do so responsibly, and especially when you're draining it for the first time, make sure you've got it in something where you can then take the oil away. Our sink is specifically designed and engineered to allow us to do this over and over because it all goes into a 5-gallon bucket that we then recycle. Now, damping rod fork will actually take a little bit longer to drain because in general the oil is thicker. It's not 5 weight, it's usually somewhere between 10 and 15. So hang the fork for at least an hour and let it completely drain. Now the fork is back in the vise, so we can continue with the teardown to get ready to take the oil seal out. So the first thing to do is go ahead and remove the dust seal from the fork leg.